Welcome to this brief user support video which will explain how Chromperfect can be configured to automate chromatography data acquisition. This can be to automatically repeat a sequence file or to continuously and automatically start the acquisition at the end of every run. In this video we are using Chromperfect version 8 and Windows 11. Other versions and operating systems may behave differently. In order to configure automation for data acquisition, first open the Run program from the Chromperfect main menu and follow the steps for claiming your instrument on the Selection tab. Next, on the Status tab, click on the Control icon, or you can also right-click within the spreadsheet. Now click the Download button. You will see the following form will appear. Note there are 4 tab sections on the top of the form. The Automation section supports the automatic repeat, automatic restart, and automatic release features. The automatic repeat feature allows the user to repeat the same sequence file entries without editing and re-downloading the sequence file between each use. If automatic repeat is disabled, then each run will use the next sequence file entry until the end is reached, and subsequent runs will generate raw data files with the same base name as the last entry, but with increment cycle numbers. If automatic repeat is enabled, then each run will use the next sequence file entry until the end is reached, whereupon the server will return to the first entry. The automatic repeat frame is enabled only when the download uses a sequence file. To enable the automatic repeat feature, check the Enable checkbox. To avoid using the same raw data file names, it is necessary to automatically modify either the base names or the cycle numbers. Select the appropriate option according to the contents of the sequence file, according to the following rules. The tables show examples where the sequence file specifies 3 entries. If the sequence file entries all have unique base names and identical cycle numbers, then the first option is appropriate. The first pass will use the base name and cycle number in the corresponding sequence entry, and in each subsequent pass the cycle numbers will increment by 1. In this case, the base name identifies the sequence entry, and the cycle number identifies the number of passes through the sequence file. For example, if the sequence file entries have identical base names and consecutive cycle numbers, then the second option is appropriate. The first pass will use the base name and cycle number in the corresponding sequence entry, and in each subsequent pass the cycle numbers will increment by the number of entries. As far as the raw data file names are concerned, this case is identical to the situation where no sequence file is used, but the contents of the raw files, sample name, etc., will reflect the contents of the several sequence file entries. For example, if the sequence file entries fit neither of the above, then the third option is appropriate. The base name will be decorated with a hyphen and a number. This number will be 1 for the first pass and will increment for each subsequent pass. In this case, the base name and the cycle number identify the sequence entry and the appended number identifies the number of passes through the sequence file. For example, the automatic restart feature eliminates the need for each run to have its own start signal. This feature is useful in process control situations, when the sample is frequently taken from the liquid or gas flowing in a pipe. It is also useful when analyzing the progress of a reaction by repeatedly sampling from the same vial. Normally, the disabled button is checked, and each run must be explicitly started, either manually or by the auto-sampler. If either of the next 2 buttons is checked, then the server will start the next run shortly after the end of previous run. Only the first run must be started manually. If the continuous button is checked, then this process will continue until the user manually stops or aborts a run or chooses pause sequence from the pop-up menu. If the one pass button is checked, this process will continue only until the end of the sequence file is reached. If a sequence file is not involved, then one pass is disabled. When acquiring data from an older HP or Agilent GC of 5890, 6890, or 6850, and specifying the vial numbers in a sequence file, the proper setting for the automatic restart feature is one pass. Note: in the continuous or one-pass modes, if the user stops or aborts a run from the client, then the automatic restart feature is temporarily disabled. When the next run is started, the automatic restart feature becomes active again. However, Chromperfect does not distinguish between a run that ends normally and a run that is prematurely terminated by the user from the hardware, that is, using the hardware stop line or the GC's front panel stop button. These methods will always terminate the current run, but if the automatic restart feature is active, then another run will begin immediately. If the timed button is checked, then instead of starting immediately after the end of the previous run, Chromperfect will start the instrument at the clock times specified in the spreadsheet. It is not necessary to start the first run manually, and additional runs may be started, stopped, or aborted without affecting the automatic restart feature. If the instrument is in a run when the clock time passes, then the automatic run will begin immediately afterward. If the run was started automatically, then the raw files will contain the special user field _auto_start_time, which contains the clock time that initiated the run. Note: for reasons of safety, timed mode will not become active until the instrument has been explicitly downloaded. This prevents Chromperfect from starting instruments when the acquisition server is first launched. The automatic repeat and automatic restart features may be active simultaneously. If the one-pass button is checked, acquisition will continue until the end of the sequence file is reached, but upon the next explicit start, the server will return to the first sequence file entry. The automatic release feature allows the user to release the claim on the instrument when all runs have been acquired. This feature is useful in situations where several users share the same instrument. If the checkbox captioned "Release user's claim on this instrument at end of sequence" is checked, then the instrument will be released after the last sequence file entry has been acquired. This checkbox will be dimmed when no sequence file is in use, and when the automatic restart feature is set to continuous. The automatic release feature requires that the client be running on the claiming station, so that raw files may be uploaded to the data directory and processed.